Then shim the second one so its top is level with the top of the first one.
Well, once we got the cabinets leveled and nailed, we cut this piece of maple veneer plywood to serve as the back of the island. This will firm things up real nicely.
Thanks. Now this plywood has a rough edge, so we ripped down some filler strips. We attached those to finish everything off here real nice. We also nailed on a nailing strip here on the back of the cabinet. This will bring this whole area here flush when we make our attachments with the plywood. Okay, now all we have to do is get this positioned correctly. What have you got on your side there, Robin?
Okay, let me check.
Once the L-shaped countertop was in, we installed our refrigerator compartment, which consisted of two 7-foot panels we ordered to match the rest of the cabinetry and a 12-inch high cabinet. We set that in place next to the last base cabinet in that run, clamped the frames together, and secured them.
We then set blocking in place to secure the other panel to the wall. We used a series of 2x4s that we ran flush with the inside of the left panel on the back wall and screwed into the wall studs. Then we nailed through the panel into the end of the blocking to fully secure it. After securing the refrigerator panels, we set the final wall cabinet in position, screwing through the back into the framing and through the inside edge of the refrigerator panel into the cabinet's face frame.
Then to finish along the top, we added crown molding, which we also ordered from the cabinet manufacturer in a matching finish.
Well, we're just getting together all of our materials to put together our countertops. Now we're going to be gluing this laminate on the top of 3/4-inch particle board substrate. Now the first thing we're going to be doing is building the particle board to set on top of the cabinets, including our L-shaped corner section, before we start any gluing.
The first step is to measure the cabinets and cut the substrate material to length. We're using particle board that's been pre-cut to a typical countertop width of about 25 inches. If you have to join two pieces of substrate at a corner or on long cabinet runs, first cut a plate from the same substrate material and glue it to the bottom of one piece. Then glue up the other half of the plate, position the second piece over that, and clamp it tight. Then apply your buildup under the edges of the substrate and along the tops of the cabinets. It's generally ripped down from the same 3/4-inch substrate material used for the top. It's usually glued and screwed up through the bottom. Make sure the screws aren't longer than the total thickness or you'll pierce the surface.
Once the substrate's ready, you can cut the laminate to size using a circular saw with the sheet resting on 2x4 supports to keep the blade off the ground. Order sheets large enough to avoid or minimize seams. Cut the pieces about a 1/2 inch bigger than you need. That leaves enough to route the edges flush with the substrate after gluing, so you don't have to set the laminate exactly perfect. One exception is along a seam, where you ideally use factory edges for the tightest fits. We use the laminate itself to cover the edges, which is called self-edging, and it's easiest to cut those with a table saw.
Contact cement is the glue generally used to secure the laminate. Do the edging first, brushing the glue on both the substrate and the back of the laminate. Be sure to cover both surfaces thoroughly. Then let the glue set until it's tacky, which means you can touch it without it sticking to your skin. That takes a 1/2 hour or more depending on the humidity. Once the glue's tacky, you can apply the edging, but you have to be careful since the glued surfaces will stick together solidly once they touch and you won't be able to get them apart. So it works best to first line up the edging a couple inches out from the substrate, apply it first on one end, and then work your way down to the other end. To make sure the surfaces fully adhere, you should also press them firmly together all along the edge. A laminate roller is the best tool for that.
When the glue's dry, you can trim the edge of the laminate down flush with the edge of the substrate. The best tool for this is a router with a laminate or flush trim bit. Then file the edge to minimize snagging and chipping down the road. Once the edging's trimmed, you can start applying glue to the top of the substrate and the back of the countertop laminate. Brushing takes a while, but you can get a special napless roller to help spread the glue more quickly.
Now the idea is to, we don't want this laminate to immediately adhere to the particle board, so what we've done is laid down these vinyl strips. This way we can set the laminate down on top of the vinyl strips in more of a controlled fashion, get it positioned exactly where we want it, and then one by one we'll pull out the vinyl strips and make contact much more slowly than trying to do it in one fell swoop. Okay.
Better come this way a little more. There we
About
go.
there?
Now you want to make sure that the glue is set properly, otherwise these slats are going to stick. Good luck getting those out.
Okay, how are we looking on the seam down there?
Okay, I'm going to have to get this on the line. It's going to have to come back your way a little. There we go. Now it's on the line.
Looks pretty good. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll start sliding the slats out in the center first, and then we'll just work our way out to either side. Now when you're doing this, make sure that you cut the laminate large enough so you have some leeway on exactly where you're going to position this. Now once we get our second piece on, we'll just trim up all the excess with a router.
And then we want to use a laminate roller to make sure that the surfaces are bonding 100%. Well, we've got the top glued and trimmed and ready to set into its final position. Now it's going to be really tight between the corner and the utility cabinet, so we're going to have to put the shorter end in at an angle and then jockey it into position. You all set?
Yep, okay. Let me lift up this end before you push.
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. How's it going?
There we go.
Making it?
Yeah, let me see what this
Okay,
is.
it's in the corner.
Okay, this seems to be going in all right. Nice. Now, originally we cut the substrate to match the wall, so it's a matter of trimming the laminate to match the substrate. There are a few gaps along the back wall here, but our backsplash should cover up that no problem. Actually, this is looking pretty good around here. There's a bit of a gap there. Okay. Got it?
Okay, ready?
Yep. Now, many times, the backsplashes will be attached to the counters before they get installed. You just set everything in place, scribe the backsplash to the wall, sand it down, everything should fit fine. But in a situation like this where we have a fairly large countertop, a backsplash on here would get to be a little unwieldy. So instead we created one out of 1/2-inch particle board rather than 3/4 inch. So this way we have a little bit of flexibility. When we place it up against the wall, we should be able to bend it to conform to any irregularities in the wall.
And we put laminate on the top and on the front as usual, but we also put it on the bottom to protect it from any moisture that might seep in underneath the caulk that we're going to put at the joint.
Okay,
Set?
all set? Yeah. Up there in the corner.
For the island, we wanted two edges of the countertop to extend 15 inches beyond the tops of the cabinets, and we're using brackets for extra support.
After cutting the laminate, we again applied the edging first, but we brought in a heat gun to help wrap the laminate around the rounded corners. After finishing off the edging, we laid down the vinyl strips and set down the laminate for the top, paying special attention to the cutout for the range. Then we pulled out the strips and used the roller to fully adhere the glued surfaces and finish the edges. To secure the top of the island, we screwed up through the hardware on the brackets into the bottom of the substrate. And to finish the countertops, we caulked along any seams or edges where we wanted to keep moisture out.